Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. Thank you for joining us. The Trump administration is pushing back against efforts by House Democrats to move forward with the impeachment inquiry against the president. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Tuesday said 5 State Department officials would not comply with a demand to appear for confidential interviews with the investigating committees this week. On Monday, Pompeo was subpoenaed after it was confirmed he was on a controversial phone call in July in which President Trump urged the leader of Ukraine to investigate his political rival, Joe Biden. That call sparked a whistleblower complaint, which formed the basis for the Democrats' impeachment inquiry into whether the president jeopardized national security and abused his power for political gain. Now, a leading Republican lawmaker is breaking ranks with the president by coming to the defense of the whistleblower, who the White House has been working to discredit. Chief congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes has more on the key figures House Democrats are hoping to speak with.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo glad-handed in Italy today while trading punches with Congress back home. In a scathing letter, Pompeo said impeachment investigators may not interview key State Department officials this week because they need more time to prepare. He accused Democrats of bullying his employees with their requests. Democratic leaders shot back that Pompeo is the one intimidating department witnesses in order to protect himself and the president. And they said Pompeo may now be a fact witness because it turns out he was on the call when President Trump urged the president of Ukraine to investigate his campaign rival, Joe Biden.
Mr. Secretary, do you have any comment on reports you're on the July 25th call with President Zelensky?
Pompeo ignored questions about the phone call today. Democrats believe these 5 State Department officials can fill in the blanks. So far, 2 have agreed to be interviewed, including Kurt Volker, the special envoy to Ukraine, who abruptly resigned last week.
Volker is a straight shooter.
Tennessee Democrat Steve Cohen sits on the Judiciary Committee.
We need to get all those people's testimony as far as what the State Department and the White House asked them to do, what Giuliani asked them to do, and what Giuliani was doing in Ukraine.
For the 11th straight day, President Trump railed against the anonymous official who first reported his call. Why aren't we entitled to learn everything about the whistleblower? A reprimand came from Iowa Republican Chuck Grassley, typically a White House ally. He said this person ought to be heard out and protected, and we should always work to respect whistleblowers' requests for confidentiality.
Chief congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes joins me now from Capitol Hill. Hi, Nancy. We just learned there will be a briefing on Wednesday related to Ukraine. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, this really came as a surprise to staffers here on Capitol Hill. It was a hastily arranged briefing by the State Department's Inspector General. They really don't know what they're going to be told by the IG at this closed-door briefing. All they know is that he's planning to show them documents related to the State Department and Ukraine. So that certainly perked a lot of people's curiosity around here. Frankly, we don't know if the IG is planning to show staffers documents that will be helpful to the president's impeachment case or harmful to it. And so everyone is just sort of on tenterhooks waiting to find out what he has in store for staffers from key congressional committees like the intelligence committees tomorrow.
Nancy, as you reported, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley broke with the president when he defended the whistleblower. How significant is this for the GOP and for the White House's efforts to create a narrative around this?
It's very significant because Grassley is really seen here on Capitol Hill as a champion of whistleblowers. That has been his reputation for more than a decade. He believes in the whistleblower system. He has worked to strengthen it. And so the fact that he is coming out now, he's someone who is typically an ally of this White House and saying, hey, hold on, stop attacking this whistleblower. He did everything by the book. He should be respected for it. And certainly his confidentiality should be respected. If he wishes to remain anonymous, then we should allow him to do so. This comes after the president has just been hammering away at this anonymous whistleblower for about 2 weeks now, calling him a fake, a fraud, a spy, suggesting that, you know, in this country we used to do things to spies that we don't do anymore. And there are a number of lawmakers on both sides, even Republicans who side with the president, who believe that that these are trumped-up allegations that don't amount to impeachable offenses, who still are uncomfortable with the kinds of things that he's been saying about this whistleblower. They just think that it's over the top and could be putting this whistleblower at risk of reprisal.
And we know he's tweeted several times that he wants to meet this whistleblower, and like you said, these comments that are questionable about the whistleblower. How has the intelligence community as a whole reacted to this?
Well, there are concerns that perhaps this will serve as a chilling effect, not just on this whistleblower who has yet to testify before Congress, but on future whistleblowers. And beyond that, they say that's not how this works. You don't get to meet the whistleblower who has blown the whistle on you. This isn't a court of law where you have the right to meet your accuser because you've been accused of a crime. This is an accusation of wrongdoing. There's a very specific system in place to protect people who blow the whistle for this very reason, so they feel comfortable coming forward, so they aren't afraid that they'll lose their jobs or be punished in some other way. And they say what the president is doing, knowingly, according to some Democrats, is really trying to put a damper on this whistleblower and on anyone else out there who might be thinking about reporting wrongdoing by this president or anyone else.
And so, Nancy, we now have a standoff going on between the State Department and the committees, you know, investigating. What will it take to end this standoff?
Well, it's interesting that we started to see some movement in the standoff just in the past few hours. We now know that Ambassador Volker, who's the former special envoy who suddenly resigned without any explanation last week, he is coming in to meet with investigators on Thursday. And then beyond that, the former ambassador to Ukraine is also now scheduled to testify behind closed doors on October 11th. She was going to come in on Wednesday, but now that date has been pushed back a bit. But it's probably a date that a lot of Democrats can live with because, you know, when they first saw that letter from the Secretary of State saying basically that Democrats are bullying these potential witnesses by trying to drag them in so quickly without State Department counsel, they were sort of prepping for a very long and arduous battle. But it does appear that they are making at least some headway on scheduling these interviews.
And Nancy, in his letter, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo demanded State Department lawyers be present during any depositions in order to assert executive privilege. But can he assert executive privilege without the president?
Well, you know, that is a question that has dogged this administration for more than a year now, and it is incredibly frustrating for Democrats that every time they ask for documents, every time they ask for an interview, they're told, well, this might be subject to executive privilege. Their frustration is the White House never actually goes ahead and exerts executive privilege over anything. It just warns that executive privilege might be asserted, and so therefore Democrats can't have the document or the witness that they want. And that is clearly the back and forth that's taking place in this situation as well. You know, and the challenge is going to be that, of course, the State Department, and particularly Pompeo, wants a State Department lawyer in that room to hear what's being discussed, to stop the witness from sharing any details that might pertain to the president. And Democrats are just as eager to make sure that a State Department lawyer is not in the room because they believe that that's going to have a dampening effect on the candor of the witnesses that they are seeking to talk to.
All right. Well, Nancy Cortez on Capitol Hill, we thank you so much.
You're welcome.